name's Dr. David Carrington. I'm the Programme Director for Business and Management at Aston Business School. Most of the talk today, I'm going to be going through that degree structure, but I'll also briefly talk about the business school more generally, and why it's a suitable destination for yourselves. So just a little bit of background about myself. I'm a lecturer in strategy. What that means is part of my time is teaching in the classroom, teaching to undergrads and undergraduate students and postgraduate students, but also the other half of my time is spent on research and academic research, and I particularly research into strategy, particularly strategic decision making, looking at the psychological aspects of strategy and how chief executives and managers make decisions, particularly in crisis situations. So very fitting for what's going on at the moment. As Jane alluded to, I am a member of the marketing and strategy department within the business school, and that's probably the first thing I want to really comment on about the business school more generally. So whilst that's the department I'm in, business and management spans all of our academic departments within the business school. So I sit within marketing and strategy department, and along with maybe 30 to 40 other of my colleagues, other academics, other teaching staff within that department. So that should give you a sense just of the sheer size of one of our departments within the business school. But we do also have an operations and information management department. We have a accounting department. We have a economics, finance and entrepreneurship department. We have a work and organisations department, and we also have a law school. And all of those different departments and schools also have similar amounts of academic staff, so you can really get a sense for the size of the business school. And whilst Aston University is a fairly small university in comparison to maybe some of the larger universities within the UK, the business school is on par with many of those bigger universities. So we have a very large business school, and that's probably one of our strongest reputations as a university, and it is that sheer size of the business school and all the different academics with different research areas, different industry experience, that allow us to be able to offer a business and management program that is quite diverse and quite varied, and offers a lot of scope and a lot of flexibility in terms of what you really want to study in the area of business and management going forward. So here's just a little bit of information about the business school more generally. We are a triple accredited institution. That puts us in the top 1% of business schools to hold in the world to hold those triple accreditations. So that's accreditation from both European accreditors, but also global accreditors as well. And what that demonstrates as a business school, it shows not only our quality in teaching and teaching business, but also research in business, our international outlook, our engagement with industry and local stakeholders. So it has a vast range of different things that really is our kind of rubber stamp to show the quality of our business school and what our business school really represents, and the kind of standards you can expect when you arrive at the business school. Business and management studies as well. In the QS World Rankings, we're also in the top 100. So that shows our global reputation and global recognition of our business and management programs within the business school. That also in turn puts us 11th in the UK for business and management studies. Another thing that we're very proud of here at Aston, and this is across the university as well as the business school, is our Teaching Excellence Framework Gold Award, and that just shows that we're at the highest level for our teaching excellence. So obviously when you arrive as undergraduate students within the business school, you'll get a real sense for our strengths in teaching and the experience that you'll get in the classroom. So here's just some of the outlines regarding some of the potential careers our business and management students go into. So you can see here that we've got a huge variety of different companies, some that you'll recognise, some very global, multinational, huge organisations. Some organisations more local, some maybe a bit smaller, some you might not be as familiar with. But we have a huge variety of different organisations that our graduates go into, and because we're such a big business school with such varied specialisms, you can also see that depending on the sort of route that students take and the options they may potentially choose, you can see that our graduates go into a variety of different roles, from international leadership roles to insurance, to data analyst roles, to operations roles, to marketing, HR, supply chain, etc. So there's a huge variety of different graduate careers that are available through a business and management program at Aston Business School. And in terms of how much our graduates go on to earn, in terms of comparing to the sector average, our graduates go and earn £7,300 more than the sector average. That's 3 years after graduating. So we have a real tangible effect on our students once they do graduate, and the impact they go and have in the workplace once leaving Aston. But it's not all about just graduate jobs. Some of our students go on to, some of our graduates go on to start up their own business, or they may go and do further study on a postgraduate program on a master's, either in the UK or further afield. So just a few key headlines really about our offering to students and what business and management allows you to do. So we have in our business school, we have our programs, we have an integrated placement year. That means we have a year which usually falls in the 3rd year of studying, where students can go out onto industrial placement. So they can go and work for another go and work in an organisation, gain experience in whichever areas they're more interested in, or in general management. So that placement year normally falls in the 3rd year. That is compulsory for our UK and EU students. Obviously, we encourage all our overseas students to also undertake that placement year, because it really gives you the strength going into final year to kind of capitalise on that work experience. But then also, once you do graduate, you've got that relevant year in industry to really be able to demonstrate to future employers of your competence in the professional workplace. I've mentioned the teaching excellence framework previously, so I won't dwell on that. But also another thing to bear in mind in terms of our graduates, then even after 5 years of studying, that the median salary is around £38,700 sterling. So that puts us again in the top 20 in the UK. On our outcomes. So we really make a tangible impact on the employability of our students and how much they go on to earn, and a lot of that is also helped by the fact that our placement students go and have that year in industry, and it gives them that kind of head start against other graduates who might graduate in the same year. The final point here is about tailoring your degree to particular subject areas to suit your own business interests. And this comes back to the point I was making at the very beginning, which is about the size, the amount of different academics we have in our business school, who all have different specialist areas, whether that's in their research, whether that's in their teaching, whether that's their engagement with organisations and external partners. And what that allows us to do within the business school, it allows us to be able to offer a programme on business and management that you can start to, once you join in 2nd year, you can start to then have more flexibility on which modules, which courses or which subjects you wish to study within the programme. So before I go on to the structure in the sense of what you go and study, it's probably worth letting you know a little bit more about how the Aston Business School works in terms of term time and what you can expect. So we usually work off what we call 120 credit structure. So you must obtain 120 credits within a year at Aston. Those 120 credits are usually divided up into modules that are usually worth around 15 credits. So when you've got 15 credits per module, you would approximately study about 8 modules in an academic year. Those 8 modules in the academic year, you'd usually study 4 in the first term, or teaching period, as we call it here at Aston, or semester, you may refer to it as. So you will do 4 in the first term. First term usually starts around the end of September, brings you up to around Christmas, so around mid-December. And then after Christmas, there's usually the exams and assessment period for a couple of weeks. And then second term or second teaching period or second semester starts around the end of January. That usually brings us up to kind of Easter time, which is usually around April. And then you return after the Easter vacation for again, exam and assessment period. So that's roughly how our structure works in terms of when teaching time is. Also mentioned there is obviously the teaching weeks. If you try and work out those kind of months and those gaps that I've just mentioned, you're looking at about 10 to 11 teaching weeks per term or per semester, plus a revision week, usually in what we call week 12, prior to Christmas or prior to Easter or just after Easter. So as I say, that then is followed by exams or coursework or presentations or reports. It just depends on the modules you've chosen, what kind of assessments that you might potentially face in those periods. Okay. In terms of how the degree is weighted towards your classification, the second year is worth 15% of the degree classification, but that's dependent on whether you go on placement. If you decide to go on placement, which we do strongly encourage, then second year will be worth 15%. If you decide not to go on placement, then second year becomes 25% of your degree classification. What that means is that your final year at Aston is worth 75% of your degree. So a lot of weight input in your final year to ensure that in those preceding years, obviously it gives you a little bit of a buffer to make sure that you kind of start to get a bit more understanding for certain subjects, and by the time you hit final year, hopefully you should be experts in those particular areas. So this is what year 2 looks like on business and management. So the first you would for next academic year, which is 2021-22, that you'll study a core module, which is virtual business manager. And then you must choose at least one of either business, government and society, which is a kind of ethics-based module. So it looks at corporate social responsibility. It looks at the links between organisations and government policy in different countries around the world. So it also has quite an international focus. Then you must either choose one of fundamentals of strategy. So this is kind of an introduction to strategy, looking at business strategy, corporate strategy, how organisations go through that process. And then you must choose at least one of the finance options. So we have a kind of we have a strategic finance, which is a 15 credit version, which is a kind of lighter version. And then you got corporate financial management, which is a double credit, which is 30 credit module. So it's a much more heavier finance module. So depending on your interest in finance, so when we talk about finance, we're looking at how a company brings finance into the business, whether that's by selling shares or bringing in bank loans or whatever it might be to be able to finance the business. And those are those 2 modules there. Just to say a little bit more about the core module. So virtual business manager is basically a situation where you take all of your learning that you will have had in first year, so any modules you might have studied before you come to Aston, and then that is a simulation module predominantly. So you'll be put into teams. You'll be put into groups with other students, and within that team you will take on various functions of the business. You'll become different directors of a business. So you'll have finance director, HR director, marketing director, operations director, etc. You'll have a chief executive or a managing director, and you'll have a chair and things like that. So you take on different roles within your team, and your team is in control of a particular company, a virtual company. And what you do is you make decisions each week, or what would be classed as a year of trading. You make decisions each week within that situation, and you'll be competing against other students, other groups, other teams, or other companies. Within that, obviously, then you're learning different skills of management. You also will also look at competencies and how you can become a professional manager in the workplace. So that's kind of how year 2 is structured for the upcoming academic year. For 2022-23, if you join in the second year, then Virtual Business Manager remains as a core module. So does Business, Government and Society, Fundamentals of Strategy, and then you must choose one of the finance modules. Okay, but regardless of which year you join us, there's still a range of business specialisms that you can choose the remainder of your modules from. So here we're looking at anything up to kind of 60 modules, 60 credits worth of modules across these different business specialisms. So I'll go back to that point where the business school has lots of different academic departments with lots of different areas of expertise. So you can then start to choose modules either in accounting, in finance, business analytics, information systems, business psychology, business economics, law, marketing and operations management. And just to give you a little bit of an insight into those potential options, so each of these are worth 15 credits each, and you can see this is what our current business and management students are studying in their second year. These are the options that they have available to them. So we have students that might be have strengths or might have a passion more for economics. They may choose more of the economics modules, or we might have students who prefer marketing modules and may choose those, etc. But we then also do have students who still want that kind of broad business and management degree, and will choose various modules across the different specialisms to continue that kind of broad knowledge and understanding that they would have also got from first year. So you'll see that here in second year there's a lot of flexibility, there's a lot of options available to you. There's the opportunity to start customizing your business and management degree to where your interests are, where your passions are, and most importantly where you see your career moving to once upon graduating. That then brings me on to talk about the placement year, which is optional for international students. The placement year can happen either in the UK or it can happen overseas. It can happen wherever you feel most comfortable conducting your placement. Obviously, it's very important that the placement is related to your degree, so it has to be in a business and management arena or function. So it's very important, obviously, that the placement aligns with the degree and what your potential career aspirations are. So we do really strongly encourage all our students to go out on placement. It is one of the key unique selling points of the business school, of our business school programs, and it really has a huge impact then on not only what you go and study in final year and how you approach final year, but then also once you graduate as well. It has a strong influence on that. We do have other options within that placement year. So you can go and study abroad if you prefer to maybe go and continue some studying in maybe the business and management area, or you still might be wanting to specialise in a particular area, and you might want to go to one of our partner institutions, possibly around the world, to go and study for that year of doing further study. around your discipline. You can also take unpaid placements. Maybe you want to go and work in a voluntary sector or work for a charity for a year using your business skills, your business knowledge in those particular areas. That might be something you might be interested in. Or you might want to go into self-employment. You might want to set up a business in that first year and maybe want to explore a potential business idea you have. And we again, throughout all of this, we have various expertise on hand within the business school to help you in that placement search, but also to help you finalize getting a placement and then supporting you whilst you're on placement. Now, as a business school, we've probably been doing placements for the last 40 years. So it's one of our key strengths within the business school. It's one of our key strengths within the programs that we have. And that 40 years of experience or more has kind of allowed us to build up not only a reputation, but all the necessary relationships with various different businesses, not just within the Midlands, not just within Birmingham itself, but also further afield across the UK and across the world as well. We have all of those different links and different relationships with various organisations. They know the quality of an Aston business and management student, and by that they also look favourably upon our graduate applications. So you can see that you can go into various different specialist positions. Again, this might be based on some of your choices that you might make in second year, but some of this also might be to do with where you start to see your career heading towards, or it might be that you still want quite a generalist business and management degree where you're not particularly specialising in a certain area. You might want to maybe go on placement where you go into more of a management role, in the sense that you'll go into different areas of a particular business. So you might spend 3 months in marketing, 3 months in HR, and 3 months in accounts, for instance. And you can see here on the right hand side all the various different organisations that some of our recent placement students have gone to work with, and you can see here also that the National University Employability Awards. You can see here that Aston won the award for the best university careers employability service. So that long enduring reputation we've got is backed up really by the amount of support staff around careers and placements that we have to help and support you through that process. That then brings me on to the final year of study. So then once you move on to the final year, again you choose at least one of these what we call integrating modules. So here we've got consultancy modules. This is very popular with our business and management final year students, where you might work on certain projects and start to work on your consulting skills particularly. Then we've got knowledge at work, which is very much applying maybe what you've learned on placement and what you've learned in the world of work, and looking at different knowledge management theories. The other one is implementing business decisions, which is again a simulation-based module, but again here you're looking much more at the implementation of decisions, and again you can refer back to maybe some of that work experience you might have had on placement, or maybe prior to that with internships or whatever your work experience might have been. Then you must choose at least one of our strategy modules. So we've got strategic management, which is kind of a bit more of an advanced view of strategy, looking at again business strategy, corporate strategy, and again looking at that process, but it's moving on from the kind of fundamental strategy that was in second year. We also have a strategic human resources management module, and similar to that, we've got theories and practice of leadership, if that's something you're more interested in. And then we've got two other strategy modules based around different functions, so marketing strategy and operations strategy. So once you've chosen at least one of the integrated modules and at least one of the strategy-based modules, then you again have the freedom to choose various different options from the business specialisms, and these business specialisms again in the same area as in second year, but they're not the same modules. These are different modules this time for final year. What's obviously important with these business specialisms and with optional modules, obviously some of it is dependent on what you've studied previously, either that's before you've come to Aston or what you've studied. It may be here when we talk about final year, what you study in second year. So obviously that then depends on what you can continue to study in second and final year. So if I just give you a quick run through here of the final year options that our current business and management students are taking, you can see again we've got them in the main areas of economics and marketing, etc. But you can see here now there's different module options that are available to our students at the final year stage. So again, you can see that by final year, you've got even greater choice. You've got even greater flexibility because there's less core content as well. So you can see that kind of as you go into final year, particularly, you can see by the end, you can have a great difference between different business and management students in terms of what you've studied and the composition of the different modules you've chosen. Okay, and this is very important because obviously when you go off into employment, when you do graduate, it's very important to be able to show to employers, to be able to maybe show them your degree transcript and show them the kind of modules you've studied, talk about those modules, and then you can really talk in much more depth and much more detail about some of these more specific sort of areas of business that might be most relevant for your area of employment. So that brings me to the end of my presentation. I want to thank you for listening. I'll now